One of the most critical things a project manager must do at the start of any project is to get everyone on the same page about the scope. Lack of clarity and information can lead to fear, concern, and misdirected focus that takes away from creating the best project possible. That's why gathering and documenting project requirements is such an important step. This makes sure you, your team, and all your stakeholders are clear about what the project is and isn't. But before we dive into the process, let's lay some groundwork with a few simple definitions. Project requirements are specific tasks, features, or functions that must be completed for the project to be considered done. While many other subtasks and decisions will happen along the way, these requirements are the must-haves that will make or break the project's outcome. As the project manager, you'll work together with key stakeholders to determine what's required to make the project a success. This list of project requirements will help guide everyone else involved in the project, giving them a clear sense of what needs to be done. There are different types of project requirements, and what you decide to document will really depend on the project. Here are a few categories you might consider. Business requirements define the project's business needs and goals and should help you understand why this project is happening. Connected to larger business objectives, they're often tied to financial, marketing, or marketplace positioning goals. Stakeholder requirements come directly from a project stakeholder or stakeholder group. Technical requirements describe specific behaviors within a technical system that must be completed to satisfy a user need. Functional requirements will describe how the product or experience will function or behave. And quality requirements set the standard for the implementation of experience, design, or code. For example, your project might have accessibility standards you must meet. Requirements gathering is the process of identifying the tasks, features, or functions that must be complete for a project to achieve its goals and be defined as a success. This process happens right at the initial phase of a project, though requirements might evolve with the project over time. In a perfect world, the sales team or project sponsor would have the requirements list all buttoned up to hand off to you. But let's be honest, that will never happen because it's simply too early in the process to get it done. It's up to you as the project manager to pull together a concrete list of requirements to guide the project. If you have a business analyst on your team, they may also lend a hand. While your process may change based on the project size, type, and information on hand, requirements gathering generally includes these basic phases. Initial discovery is collecting any possible tasks, features, or functions the project may require from the project sponsor, client sales team, and all relevant project stakeholders. List refinement is the process of reviewing, refining, and clarifying the project requirements with a smaller group of key stakeholders. Requirement documentation is capturing the final list of requirements in a file that can be shared with the project team and stakeholders. Final approval is confirming all stakeholders share a common understanding of the project requirements and agree to the final document. And ongoing management means managing requirements and updating documentation throughout the project as it grows and changes. With all the other tasks on your plate at the start of any project, you might wonder, is a formal requirements gathering process really necessary? The answer is always yes, no matter how big or small the project is. This process is critical to get stakeholders from all sides on the same page, bringing clarity and agreement on the path you're about to take together. More importantly, it makes sure everyone has a chance to define what's needed to deliver a positive and successful project outcome. Here are a few more reasons why gathering requirements is a must for any project. Having a clear list of project requirements and even a list of what's not a requirement forces stakeholders to make tough decisions early. It also gives everyone a straightforward document that can be referenced to avoid large scope changes once work begins. When stakeholders are unclear about what you're creating, extra time can be wasted on defining, creating, and implementing something that doesn't meet your business goals. The conversation that happened during requirements gathering will help all team members better understand what you're doing together, leading to less wasted time. Gathering requirements early forces you to work through individual wants to come to an agreement about what you're doing. This process can help eliminate or greatly reduce tension that arises from goal conflicts and internal politics, and overall bring the team together. Finally, the process reduces confusion and ambiguity at the start of the project when stakeholders are most tense and worried about being successful with such a large project. Having an open discussion and breaking the work into sizable pieces gives team members comfort because they're seeing the process and know a project manager is there to help. Because every project is different, it's important to understand what's unique about each project and create a stepped approach that best supports your project. Use these basic steps as a guide to formulate a process that works for you. One of the first things you'll want to do is review existing documents and get a download from the client sales team or project sponsor. Identifying potential requirements from existing project docs not only helps reduce meeting time, but also shows your client your team listened by bringing past conversations forward. Take this time to start listing project requirements in a spreadsheet. In this initial discovery stage, focus on adding the following items to the list. Documented requirements come from RFPs, project proposals, the sales team's notes, and other key project documents. Current requirements come from reviewing a client's website or product and documenting how things work now. Invisible requirements are requirements that come to mind because you're reading between the lines or have experience with similar projects or clients. You may note these as questions or something you're just unclear about. And remember, it's just as important to note items that are clearly out of scope so there's no confusion. You're going to need stakeholder help to create, refine, and finalize your requirements list, whether it's your core project stakeholders or an expanded group. Work with the project owners to identify key stakeholders you should include and how at this stage of the process. This step is all about uncovering unstated goals, assumptions, pain points, and of course, real requirements. I like to work offline or with similar groups at this stage because it makes it easier to engage business folks and reach more stakeholders. Encourage stakeholders to work with their own departments or teams to make sure all necessary voices are heard. This will help you flush out any unknowns. Your goal should be to work through all the things, not keep the list small. Don't be shy about sussing out the details. For every top-level question you ask, use the response to dig down even deeper. Several questions could come out of one single response, and each response could add requirements to your work. That means one simple yes or no answer could have a cost attached to it. That's why this exercise is critical to understanding what your team can do within the project scope. Now that you've got a good, healthy requirements list, it's time to workshop it with a smaller core group of stakeholders. Your goal should be to refine the list down to a formal set of project requirements you can pass around for approval in the end. Here's how to run a requirements gathering workshop for your project. Start with your high-level business requirements. These should be firm before you outline any other project requirements. Then clarify the remaining project requirements on your list. Make sure they're written in clear and simple language so everyone understands what each requirement is and it's accessible for those outside the workshop too. Next, add any project requirements that are missing. Then categorize and group project requirements to improve ease of use. And finally, prioritize what's important. Then move items that don't make the cut to another tab so they can be referenced later. The bigger your project scope, the more sessions you'll need. Here are some tips that can help you facilitate more effective project requirements workshops. Tidy up your working requirements list as best you can and send it to attendees before the first workshop. Ask them to review it as prep work to keep the meeting running smoothly. Include visuals where they're helpful. Pictures enable everyone to quickly understand something better. Avoid user stories at this point. They aren't always everyone's cup of tea, and that level of detail will only slow your workshop down. Add validation criteria as needed so there's no question about how and when a requirement has been met. And finally, make your workshops interactive. Add each requirement as a task or milestone in a shared TeamGantt project and use board view to refine your list and organize it into priority columns. After the workshops are over, it's time to get your project requirements list in its final form so it's ready to share more widely for approval. Ideally, you've been writing your official document as you go, or maybe you already have a good start in a tool like TeamGantt. Now that the list is finalized, it's important to make sure it's shared with and approved by all key stakeholders. Doing this ensures everyone's on the same page and provides clear visibility to the project scope. Once the list is approved, this will become your working checklist to track and determine if the project is complete and delivered as promised. From this point on, your job is to manage these requirements. This doesn't just mean tracking progress and completion. It also includes planning and responding to change, as well as communicating regularly with your team and stakeholders. Often, it's best to move your list into a collaborative project management tool that allows you to assign dates and responsibility to project requirements. TeamGantt makes it easy to set requirements as milestones and track them to completion so everyone involved in the project has clear visibility and accountability. You'll also need a solid plan for handling any new requirements that arise. For instance, what's the approval process for new requests? Is the budget or timeline flexible, or will something else have to be removed from the list? Change will happen, so having a process in place for managing change and communicating it is key from the start. Finally, be sure to check in with stakeholders at each major milestone. This gives everyone a clear picture of progress, a chance to address anything that's not working, and the ability to pivot if you need to change focus. If you want to keep better track of all your project requirements, TeamGantt gives you all the features you need to make sure projects finish on time and on budget, including drag and drop simplicity, easy team collaboration, customizable views, team availability and workload management, planned versus actual timeline, and a dedicated mobile app. And it all comes with a simple interface that's easy for anyone to use. And that's it for this video on documenting project requirements. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, I'd love it if you could return the favor and hit the like button. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.